Yeah,
big in it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was just at school, so I'd done nothing. I'd had no life experience. I did do house removals. Not what you think. It was house removals.
With a balaclava.
Yeah, I was going to make that joke.
I'm saying.
House rules.
No.
Dead and I with a balaclava.
Does anyone want to buy a video recorder?
No, it was like I think I did it like once a week. I was supposed to be at school. I got about £5 a week or something. So we got 100 quid in a week, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so I thought I was rich. But I dropped a table.
That's rich. Go on, yeah.
Got sacked. So I'd had no life experience. I knew nothing. So this was really my first job.
When it all ended, I think, Scott, you mentioned you got married, didn't you? And then
The next day, yeah. The very next day.
And the next day. So go through one by one. Scott, I presume you're on your honeymoon the next day. I presume you're madly in love.
So get married the day after we split, and then when me and Kerry go off to our honeymoon with a 3-month-old baby, Brennan, yeah. And obviously, so for me, that was that was the start. So for me, that was my journey and my start of my new life. So we'd left one life behind, and then I wanted to go and make my family with my wife, and so that was what I did straight after, and it was amazing.
Let's go around the table. I remember, and I know we stayed together a lot longer than you guys, but I remember the morning after we split, and we'd finished in a big tour here at a big stadium called Croke Park. And we'd done 2 nights. That was the final 2 shows. They were live on Sky and cinemas actually as well. And the next morning I woke up and I thought, what do I do now? Like 14 years of my life dedicated.
Schedule.
And no schedule. No people calling. It's weird. And my wife, we had 2 kids at the time. We have 3 now, but we 2 at that time. And I always joke, and I tell this loads of times, but I remember phoning my wife's mobile. She was downstairs, I was upstairs. And I went, hello, can I order a scrambled egg and smoked salmon, as if I was in a hotel room, And she went, yeah, good one. Those days are gone. But I suppose there was an element of excitement for me because I thought, well, this is the start of my new life, a bit like what you say, Scott. What do I do next? But I say that because I was 34 then, and I'd made a good few quid. I was very happy and I was excited about what the future may hold, TV, radio, whatever I wanted to try my hand at. And solo stuff, I did the solo stuff, album, Eurovision. But for you guys, like, Sean, let's go to you. You were what, 21 you said?
20.
20. I mean, what do you do that day? Can you remember that moment?
When we...
The next day.
No, I can't really remember the actual next day.
Or the feelings you had of the future.
Yeah, it's just, it's a void, isn't it? It's... Because when you're growing up, it's like when kids go to university, for example, it's all about finding out your identity, who you are, and whatever. Well, I never had that, and I can only speak for myself. So I just became Sean from 5. So when that stopped, I had no clue who Sean was. I didn't even know how to really buy clothes because I had a stylist. I didn't know how to do anything. So
isn't that crazy for people listening and watching? They won't understand that. I know what you mean, but because everything's on tap, isn't it? It's like, I'm hungry. Okay, what do you want? It'll be here in 20 minutes.
Sean tells me a story that just after the band, I think he's going to a stag do, and he leaves his suitcase in the middle of the airport because someone normally...
Yeah, we was going to there. Yeah, so straight after that's what I do remember. Yeah, we were going to Vegas. Don't recommend it. But we were going there, and I literally left my bag in the middle of the airport. I just thought, oh yeah, someone will get it. Because the tour manager or somebody, they always...
There will be, but it'll be armed police who'll be picking it up.
But I was just walking, you just walk around in a daze, didn't you? Going from country to country, doing whatever you was doing, and you just... I'm doing it a little bit now, though, aren't I, actually? Going from day to day.
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
What about you, Rich?
It was a weird one. I do remember sort of likening the band in time-wise. It's a little bit military, innit? Every minute is counted for. So I did struggle with that. And I did go off the rails a little bit, like afterwards, a little bit too much drinking and stuff like that. Jay and I had a good time in Ibiza. And then, I'd always been very driven and very focused, and I knew what I wanted to do, but I felt extremely emotionally drained. And I knew, like, if I wanted to say, go and have a solo career or whatever, Cal actually said he wanted me to sort of sing ballads and stuff like that. And I recorded a few ballads and I took them, I had them, in my living room, and I was listening. I was like, I can't walk out on stage and look the audience in the eye and show them that I believe it, because I just didn't. So I was like, nah, I'm not feeling that. And I don't know, I drifted, mate. I just drifted. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was the first time. And to be so driven and then not have a clue what you wanted to do, I found very, very
I
difficult.
remember sitting in a lot of coffee shops depressed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you're just empty. Sat
there and a 5 song comes on.
Nah, but you know that.
It's like, if you're getting down, baby.
No, but you know that. It's just that empty schedule. Just I've got nothing to do. When you just like try to make yourself busy. I remember I used to put sometimes write things in my phone like a list, and I'd go through it, and then I'd get to 1 o'clock, be like, I've done the dishwasher.
I find it weird, but I find it weird from the other boys' perspective, because obviously where I just got married and I had Kerry and I had, Brennan, and we had the house. So I went to a really normal life. But when I often think, oh, maybe they had the same experience as me. But when we talk about it now, well, they can't have had, because I had Kerry, who was my safe space. And so I had a life. And I'm not saying they didn't have lives, but their lives were very different to what.
Had a lot less anchors than yours.
I could lean on Kerry, and I could, we're changing nappies and we're doing this, we're doing that. So I didn't have those weird years that you talk about. I didn't, that's not my experience. It's so weird to me to.
It was like, what was that program with the dog? Maybe tomorrow.
The Littlest Hobo,
right? That's how I used to do sort of 4 or 5 year stints living somewhere, and then I'd move, and then I'd move.
Did you go straight to Australia?
No, I lived sort of, I call it my wilderness years. I just lived in the middle of nowhere in Oxford with a girlfriend who at the time, I think I'd have been, I don't know what would have happened to me without her, actually, because she was, really kind and solid, and sort of got me through. And she used to say to me, actually, she was like, I have never seen anyone as lost as you. And I'd be like, I know, neither have I.
And did you, during that time, because I think you're not the first person to openly say things like that, especially after a band, or sometimes it's footballers when they finish and stuff like that. Did you ever think about ringing your 4 lads in the band?
Rich and I were in touch, like close for years.
Yeah,
okay, right.
We lived.
Which helps.
Probably like a quarter of a mile, not even that away from each other.
Yeah.
And we hung out for a good few years after, so I think that anchored us. Even though we weren't anchored in what we were doing, we were off kind of having a bit of a time at some festival.
Well, we were doing what most people are doing when they're 18, 19. We were doing it in our 20s, and I rebelled against, actually, another thing I did was, much to my mom's dislike, is I grew my hair as long as I possibly could. She'd be like, what are you doing with your hair? And I'd be like, I was rebelling against Rich from 5.
I'm in the wilderness.
Yeah. Did you ever rebel against Nick from Westlife? Sure, podcast, but I'm interested.
In COVID, I did, but more for fun. I think
you've never had a spell where you just like, I don't.
And I'll tell you why. My dad, who's passed away, right? My dad, 15 years ago, used to always say to me, to all of us, he'd say, you have to be in charge of your own mind. You have to try and, your positive thoughts will make a positive moment for you. Negative thoughts, God knows what can happen. So I never allowed myself, even, we all have those moments, but I was like, and I say to my kids all the time now, happy thoughts, happy thoughts, happy thoughts. So even when I spoke about the Westlife moment, and it was over, and like I said, I was comfortable in every way, but I was going, right, I'm still not going to sit down and, do all this. I have 2 kids to fend for, I have a wife, I want them to know and see me getting out of bed every morning to work. So I went straight, I actually did Strictly Come Dancing, which was different and fun, but I kind of was doing that for a way because I wanted people to get to know Nicky Byrne as opposed to Nicky from Westlife.
That's what I can relate.
In the UK.
We've all done that. We've all sort of, we call the 5, we're in a boat, we're going down the river, and then every now and then one of us will go, fuck this, I'm going down the stream, it's about me.
Yeah.
And you want everyone to know about you, and we've all done that to different degrees, you know what I mean? And then we might go, right, should we get back together? And one person's still down the stream, and they're like, nah, I'm still about me. Yeah. And then this time, it's not about any of us individually. We completely appreciate each other.
5 is bigger than us.
It's
bigger than us.
First time as a band, as a collective. With the magic that each one of us brings, but what it makes as a collective, and that's where we're at. We're all on the boat with a paddle.
Yeah. No, you're not. You're getting on a yacht at the moment.
he just takes the whole boat down the stream. We kick off, get back.
No, another thing that I can relate to what you said as well, though, is like since I had my daughter Ella, in your internal stuff, when you don't have a kid, but when you got a kid, it just, you can't help it. It's like, it's not about me. Do you know what I mean? So it does just switch. Yeah, it switches your brain.
Scott, I've said this a couple of times before, but I feel like he got it right. He had the kids, he got the wifey locked down. Then the madness happened. Yeah. He always had that security and that sanctuary and that safety that was always there. Mate, I should have took some advice off of you. You know what I mean? Early days, but
it is. You make a good point, Abs, because like I was married when I was 24. So when West I split when I was 34, I was 10 years married. Like I said, had kids. But I had, you have your best friend, your partner to bounce stuff off. Whether that's...
Well, they look after you, they protect you.
Well, they give you their advice.
But you both lived where you grew up.
Yeah. Well, different towns within Dublin, but we met in school and so on.
We didn't. Like me moving away, it made me even more lost in a way. I mean, I moved back to Leeds and I feel more grounded living where I'm from.
So I can't imagine that. So I do kind of, when I try to imagine that, I think that must have been so difficult. Global fame, stardom, big hit in America, etc., etc. And then you're back in your hometown. Abs, you obviously, I met you on the Michael McIntyre show with Westlife. We did the plank together. You beat me.
I did beat you.
I think we were going for about 10 minutes.
And I did some push-ups at the end.
You did.
Plank well, so.
That's plank with a P, whatever that's. You were the solo career. That's what you went down that road. You wanted that.
Simon was like, let's do this. And the first track was kind of reggae theme, what you got. And I was like, okay, we could go somewhere with this. And we had a second track lined up and then it sort of fell apart. So it kind of just fizzled out. And I was like, I don't even want to promote it. Do you know what I mean? I just gave up on it. And funny enough, after the band and after that, that's when I thought the band was rock and roll. I've really rock and rolled afterwards for like 10 years. It's all like mad though, mad. So yeah, but then again, to finally come around, it's like a full circle. And just like I say, again and again, man, this was never happening, Nick. This was never happening, Nick. Hated me. Like never.
Isn't that where you thought they hated you? Yeah. He didn't know what to say to you. Yeah. What was your thoughts, Jay? Of the lads and afterwards? Obviously you hung out with Rich, but you, out of everybody, I think I've seen you in the press, Abs, and different things, and good times and unfortunately tough times for you. I just never heard of you. And I always remember thinking, I said it to you, didn't I? I said, do you have Jay's number? He went, yeah. I went, would you call him? And he went, if you call, would you answer? He said, yeah. And I was like, every time I ever ask anybody in the music industry, because when we all got back together and you'd be talking to tour managers and management, you'd be like, you ever seen the Five Boys? What are you up to? That? I said, whatever happened to Jay? Is he working? Is he living? What? And he goes, I don't know. I haven't a clue. I've never heard of him. I said it to you, didn't I? And I went, is he working? He said, I don't know. I was like, so what did you do? Was it fun to be, I don't know, anonymous? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. Well, like just before the band finished, maybe like, I don't know, a little bit while before it finished, I basically started looking at just a different aspect of myself and that life. And I've kind of got really heavily into certain Eastern philosophy and just study of the mind and just what all this is. And it's something that I've been kind of going all my life, really. And I thought the whole the music thing was going to kind of do it for me. And I was going to find this thing I was searching for. And when I didn't, when it was the absolute antithesis of what I thought it was going to be, it just kind of widened this kind of hole inside me that I was just trying to fill with something. So prior to the band splitting up, I've been getting into the kind of certain philosophies. I'd started meditating again. And it really, by the time we decided to call it a day, something completely different had sort of opened up inside me. And a kind of different viewpoint was coming into view. I was just feeling different about life, and so I just kind of went off on this sort of quiet one, just of like I'd sit in my flat, had a beautiful flat in Hampstead. All I had in there was a bed in my room, a sofa in the living room, no TV or anything, and just 2 bookshelves full of all these really quite heavy books. And I just went off into reading that stuff and just sitting for hours on end. And then like myself and Rich were still in touch at this point. So we'd meet up, we'd go through phases where we'd party a bit. Our girlfriends became friends. We traveled a little bit, but always my thing was kind of going back to this point, this thing that I was kind of really sort of seeking and searching for. And I really did nearly go off on quite a mad tangent with it. I was seriously at one point for quite a good amount of time, really pictured myself, sounds like a big cliche, but I pictured myself kind of just going off, literally wandering around India, like a sort of almost like a Western sadhu. I just given everything up because I didn't want any possessions. I didn't want anything. I was just emptying myself of everything that was kind of inside me. And it was positive in a way. I've had some, and it still stays with me now, certain experiences and certain things that have opened up. But then we all talk about this almost like rudderless thing that we had when you didn't have any direction. When you go that far into the kind of thing that I was going into, it really is all about just almost like clearing everything out of yourself, like your whole ego, and just becoming just this kind of empty vessel.
Awareness, just pure awareness.
Yeah, it's just awareness, just kind of awareness of life taking place, as weird as that might sound. And I really was off on that whole thing. And I really did nearly just kind of totally disappear to just go wandering around. Like that idea of just living with nothing and just wandering was really, really very appealing. And then that kind of went a little bit wrong because I didn't quite let myself, or not let myself go. I didn't quite go that far into it that you probably need to. So then I was stuck in this halfway place where I was kind of me, but I was just almost this really free thing. So it was like I had nothing to pull me to anything. I was basically just almost just wandering.
How long was that period?
20 years.
That's a no. Yeah, seriously. Like a lot of time, yeah. And it's like I still have that sort of thing with me. But yeah, now I've sort of come back to the world and I kind of want to experience it.
And the world's a better place for fingers.
Thank you very much.
During that time, Jay,
Still eats with his fingers as well.
does he? And his eyebrow ring is gone. That has to go back for the tour, right? Get a sticky on it.
Just a really crap
Yeah.
big comedy thing.
Get a comment and throw it into the crowd every night.
I'm always up before the birds and the kids. Good thing Costa Express is always up too. Early starts are easier with great coffee. And if I grab one for Bob, I might even get some decent company. Large cappuccino for the bloke who's half asleep.
Oh, you legend. Now that's a proper coffee.
Should kick in just in time for you to remember which end of the screwdriver to use.
Costa Express. Quality coffee every time.
How would you spend £200 million? I'm Sorrel and I'm back for season 2 of the insanely lavish Rich Beyond My Wildest Dreams podcast, where hilarious guests get their hands on an imaginary £200 million jackpot on Euro Millions from the National Lottery.
I would buy tickets to go and see Backstreet Boys in the Sphere. I'd buy the Sphere! What are we talking about?
The bougier, the better.
Turned into a lunatic with all this money. I'm trying to buy Europe.
So get ready for confetti cannons, champagne, giant checks, and some of the most outrageous ways a person could possibly spend a £200 million fortune.
Jacuzzi karaoke.
Jacuzzi
Karaoke.
You can get that Euro Millions feeling every Friday by searching for Rich Beyond My Wildest Dreams on all podcasting apps, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Hey, we're still off a pickleball Sunday. Oh, hold on a sec. Hey, how's the hustle?
Pretty busy, actually.
No time to chat. I'm married to the grind. He's asking me my 10K time. That's none of your business.
This place, so boring. It's just not me.
Oh dear. Is your business stuck in the wrong place? Then try Workspace.
Look at our new space. It feels just like home.
With your own space and your people, your business can happen.
It all happens at Workspace.
Right, that's what you need to do. Were people worried for you? Were your family worried for you?
A little bit, yeah. Because I did almost just kind of just gave up on everything in their eyes. I remember my dad was kind of really big on it. It caused a lot of friction between my dad and I. Because my mum was kind of worried, but sort of knew that I'd be okay. And she knew that I just needed, I'd been like that since before the band, like quite a sort of a free soul and not really going for the status quo or whatever. So my mum was a bit more kind of like, I'll be okay. But I remember my dad really getting on my case all the time, saying, have you found a job yet? And I used to see that as him just getting on my case and being a bit of an arse. But now I've sort of over the past few years seen it that he really saw that his son probably needed a bit of an anchor. He didn't quite understand the path that I was on, because I tried to speak to him about that, was, you know, quite metaphysical stuff and the stuff that was going on in me, and he didn't quite get that. But looking at it now, he was looking at it like